bis nächstes Jahr auch noch drauf. Schönen Tag euch.
Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 29th of December of 2023. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's move on. The most important update is that the Russians have started. They started missile attack over the entire Ukraine. Once again, we have already discussed everything.
Grenade out!
This is very interesting video for the Russians. Factory, the factory that Ukrainians were using to produce and repair tanks, and as you can see, that the just one, and this is the secondary detonation. As a result, about the only thing we can see the video behind the area. Furthermore, other sources are saying after that they made a council. They were trying to discuss what the Poland are going to do next, but later we found out from the Polish resources that
you're right on.
Return to Lvov, maybe in direction of that tank plant. When talking about the global scope of the situation, of course the situation is very critical for the Ukrainians, not just because of the fact that Russians managed to do significant damage, not just the fact that the Ukrainians, all these strikes started on the New Year. The most important thing is just that the Russians used maybe just 1% of the resources, because once again the Russians need just aviation. Black Sea caliber carriers, and as of today the Russians haven't used even a single submarine caliber carrier to attack Ukraine, so obviously they're trying to keep their submarines, the Black Sea fleet, for the most important, even probably for the new. So we'll see what is going to be next, but as I understand it's going to get worse, and the Russians probably this night or tomorrow will repeat the strikes, because the result, the best results the Russians are able to achieve if they use wave by wave. Now we are moving to the situation on the ground, and the most important updates are coming from Kherson direction. The Russian sources published a video how they managed to discover and to destroy the Ukraine air defense system IRIS-T. This video we got just today, the 29th.
Counter-terrorist win.
Those two systems IRIS-T was destroyed on the 25th of December. The report included this piece of information in that report. As a result of a strike, they managed to destroy two IRIS-T launching systems. So yet we haven't received any updates about FAB 500 or FAB 1500's use on this area, but obviously now they have different focus. Now the Russians are using missiles and drones and rockets to attack Ukraine. When talking about
Throwing a grenade.
we have is the Russian side. Now the Russian vehicles along the south Drinky, and on these scenes you can see the significant number of destroyed Russian vehicles, not armored vehicles, but just regular tracks, light vehicles. Most of them were destroyed as a result of Ukraine FPV drone strikes. So I'm just trying to say that Ukrainians do have losses in Drinky, significant losses, but the Russians have losses as well.
Counter-terrorist win.
Now we're moving to Porozhye area, to the Bradley Square. So once again we got another footage from Orechov itself. This is the city, this is another ghost city, as Novomikhailivka, Dar, Avdiivka, Bach, Artyom, Sun, same destiny will repeat in the city.
Go, go, go!
Now Orechov, as you can see, half of the
Laying down smoke. Throwing a grenade. Throwing flashbang.
and there are very low numbers of have relatively Ukraine, but the sources are saying that as a result of another Russian attack, another Russian offensive operation, they managed to establish control over this territory and to get closer to the Ukrainian main positions on the fields. I'll remind you that as the first plan, as the first step, first stage of Russian withdrawal plan, they're trying to get as many as possible forces on this line. They will try to from Robotina, from Verbova, and after they will continue their withdrawing process, and they will try to get the road on this line. Now we're moving to the south. We have this territory as well, and stronghold to the east of Solidar. This is the stronghold that happens attacks that took place in the but those attack forces haven't managed to do this. Now they started another artillery preparation. So probably attack. When talking about Novomikhailivka, as of today, we haven't received even a single geolocation about any clashes inside of the village or on the outskirts, just missile strikes. This is the video of Lumur attack against another Ukrainian Czech stronghold in the area, and a little bit of the
Terrorists win and clear
Russians
lives.
continue bombing this city, these routes with the phosphorus towers. These positions that were bombed are located right in front of Russian edge positions on the eastern part of the village. So probably soon the Russians will renew their offensive operation. Now we're moving to Avdiivka area, and we got a lot of very interesting details and updates from this territory. And probably the most important is chemical plant. On this scenes we can see the entrance of Avdiivka.
Laying down smoke.
This is very
Throwing fire. Throwing a grenade.
Let's say
Throwing flashbang.
like 2 kilometers from the chemical plant, from the Terikon, and obviously the Russians do have technologies and possibilities to attack Zelensky with anti-tank missile in this area, but probably they haven't managed to see him. Found him. Zelensky made a video saying that the Ukrainians are obviously that was very important and necessary video for the Ukrainians when the Russians were bombing and attacking over the entire Ukraine with missiles. So probably this is the situation. When talking about the southern direction, we got few updates. The Russians continue bombardments of Avdiivka with Krasnopol, with Iskander strikes. On this video we can see how the Russians managed to discover another Ukrainian warehouse of ammo depot, of armored vehicles, and as a result of very powerful attack, that building was destroyed, probably including the vehicles and some materials inside of it. Furthermore, the Russians started active artillery preparation in the vicinity of Tsarskaya Khota. On this footage we can see the Russian bombardment, heavy bombardment of the area. Probably we need to expect the renewing of Russian offensive operation in direction of Tsarskaya Khota, not just from the south. Obviously the Russians will attack this territory from the south and from the east, from industrial area. Because when talking about Avdiivka, the operational pause is too long for now. It's like around 2 weeks or something like this. The Russians haven't made any attempt to attack. Now it's time, obviously, we completed the regrouping. And once again, according to my understanding of the situation, the Russians will try to attack ex-air defense base. The Russians will try to attack Tsarskaya Khota from the south. And obviously, the Russians will try to attack the same area from the north, from industrial area, trying to cut this territory from supply and support and to establish like a circle to force the Ukrainians to step back. Once again, the Russians managed to improve their positions on the north flank of Avdiivka. These territories under complete Russian control. We will update this territory because we have real geolocated confirmation of the Russian progress. Ukrainian tank will enter in this area, and then the Ukrainian tank was bombing the Russian positions from the very close distance. As you can see, just one tank was ruining step by step, building by building. And the Ukrainians were doing this because they understand that they were moving back, they were withdrawing their positions, and they just wanted to be sure that Russia will not have even a single, let's say, fortification area further. That's positions in the forest that located this on the northwest of Klishchiivka. For now, we don't know whether the Russians managed to clear this area or not. The Russians started very heavy artillery preparation and bombing Ukrainian positions in this forest. This is very important, let's say, territory for the Russians. The main reason, the value of this area is that the Russians are able to capture this territory, then they can gain some the Russians for further offensive operation to the north in direction of Ivanivsk. So they can use these three lines. The Russians can use these fortifications area. But discussed, and according to the sources, the Russians have already captured the ex-aviation base. But for now, the Russians terrorists win. The Russians can't use these roads of attack, so that's why they need to do create something else. The positions of Russian forces and Ukrainian forces in this area are too close to each other, so the only chance, the only possibility for the Russians is to attack from these forests to the north. They want to attack first of all, they need to capture, and they need to clear this area. So I think in the next 48 hours they get a Russian side on this direction.
Laying down smoke.
Now we are moving to the north as far as the
Grenade out.
Flashbang. We have two videos from the same area. On the first footage, we can see the Russian FPV drone bombing and attacking of Ukrainian positions. Significant operation, and they just cleared this area with a significant number of drones. Maybe there were lots of Ukrainians, but I can't even tell you the real number of Ukrainians that managed to survive after that strike, after those waves of attack. And after the Russians finished with drones, they started the ground operation. We will stop on this moment. We will not watch the next parts of this video, because the Russian soldiers were just moving from one stronghold to another, from one fortification area to another, from one trenches to another, and all this territory was completely filled with the lost Ukrainian soldiers. So that's why we will
throwing a grenade.
But this is the first 100% relocated information that as a result of offensive operation to establish control over this territory. We will color this area before the next video as well. So now the Russians
terrorists win. You have stupid to think you're alone. It's going to explode.
These thoughts of these two geolocations of FPV strikes in this area. So these two updates that the Russians have already launched the clearing operation, but we are waiting for the operation on the ground, which obviously is going to start very, very soon. And after that, after this progress, let's say if the Russians are able to capture and establish complete control over this territory, then the Russians will be able to start battle and collapse the Popolo forest. And after
Grenade out.
Operational speed, and after this stronghold, they can attack in any direction. The Russians can continue offensive operations. The Russians north. So lots of things to do. The Russians will be able to attack Bogdanovka from the south. So operational square in this special operation means everything. When talking about Bogdanovka itself, we haven't received any geolocations, just two. The Russians were bombing the Ukrainian positions in the behind of Bogdanovka. So the main, as you can see, there is a very powerful stronghold. The Russians were bombing this territory, trying to suppress probably the Ukrainian reinforcements, reserves, not to allow them to redeploy forces to the northeast of Bogdanovka. Anyway, Bogdanovka is under very heavy fire, and not just under very heavy fire. Obviously, the Russians are storming this area. The clashes probably are taking place in the central part. The Ukrainians published the video of FPV drone flying above this territory. The author of this video was saying that the Ukrainians are trying to find Russian positions and so on. So this is not 100% sure confirmation of Russian progress, but obviously this is like an update, important update about possible Russian progress. Furthermore, other sources are saying that the Russians are getting closer and closer to Georgievka, and there's a high chance that the clashes and Bogdanovka will take place at the same time. Now we are moving on. We got very important from the Russian sources, from the Russian Telegram channel. They published the video of artillery preparation, how the Russian forces were bombing and attacking this territory. They were commencing this area. They were showing some footage, some films, and as a result of that artillery preparation, later the Russian military that as a result of clashes, Russians managed to capture the Ukrainian positions in front of Sporny, not in front of
Throwing fire.
Once again, and that the very heavy clashes area. So that was update of the morning of the 29th of December. And right before I start making this video, the Russian sources reported that as a result of very heavy clashes, the Russians managed to establish complete control over this village. So we need to wait, or either Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation will confirm this information, or maybe some source will publish some video. But as of the end of December, the Russians, as a result of very heavy clashes, managed to establish complete control over the village. And this is a very big problem for the Ukrainians. Yet we haven't received any geolocated information. The Russians in the previous days tried to attack these three lines, and the Ukrainians published the video how they defeated the Russians, but it doesn't mean that the Russians haven't managed to penetrate this defense belt. And if counter-terrorist win, of course, significant progress on the Russian side, but you need to understand one thing. Currently, I'm working on the fortification areas and strongholds, and soon we're going to receive them on the map. We're going to see them. The main fortification belt between the forces of this direction takes place between Voinka, Ivanodarevka, and Sivers. There are three main Ukrainian strongholds, and even if the Russians are able to capture Ivanodarevka, let's say,
laying down smoke.
To capture and to bypass this final line before
Throwing a grenade.
So the most important things are still in front of Russians, not behind or in the area of Sporny. Now we are moving to Liman area, and we haven't received any direction. There are very heavy clashes, but as I understand, the Russians currently are regrouping in this area. They're bringing more ammo, they're trying to evacuate wounded, abandoned or damaged tanks, and as I understand, also within the next few days, the operational direction as well. When talking about Kupiansk, the situation develops in this area not so good for the Russians in comparison with other forces. They've got two geolocated videos, mainly from the Ukrainian side. And the first one took place in between Ivanovka and Orlyanka. On these scenes, we can see another Russian attempt to attack in direction of Ivanovka, but the forces of 43rd Ukrainian Mechanized Brigade managed to repel that attack, and as a result of clashes, the Ukrainians and the Russians lost up to 2 or 3 tanks and probably 2 or 3 personnel armed. As I understand, for now, the Ukrainians took a decision to concentrate significant number of forces, and they're planning not to give up even a single square meter for the Russians. And this is very weird because, is that for me, I don't understand the value of this foothold. Maybe this is like this foothold has the value when talking about the battle for Liman and Slaviansk Kramatorsk, because as we discussed, the Russians don't have chances to capture Slaviansk and Kramatorsk by attacking these two cities in front. Anyway, they need to establish control over the territory between Oskol and Jerebets River and over Liman. Without these operations, there are very low chances for the Russians to capture these cities like very fast or something like this. Maybe this is the reason why the Ukrainians are not counting their losses and their forces, and they're trying not to allow the Russians to attack and penetrate this defense belt. Another video.
Incendiary out. Grenade.
I don't know
Throwing
why
fire.
they publish they're showing the same
Grenade out. Throwing flashbang.
why the small details of this video was operation when they lost like up to 4 armored vehicles and marines on board. And so as we can see, we have already updated the map showing that this territory is great control for at least in the Great Zone. And that's it about the situation on the ground. And once again, the Russians have started their military missile campaign. We see that NATO countries were trying to even involve Poland in these conflicts, saying that missile enter the territory of Poland. What does it mean? That means that NATO countries are ready for everything. And if the Russians are able to collapse
Counter-terrorist wins.
facilities, critical infrastructure, there are very high chances that NATO countries will use this situation and will be forced to join the conflict as well. So the situation with Poland is not like something that happens for nothing, without any reason. That was the flag. That was the flag and the red line that NATO countries shown the Russians. There were no missiles, obviously, but they needed to show the Russians.
This isn't the killing house anymore. This is real life.
But I believe that was bluff.